is not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. You're like a miniature Buddha, covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
But it's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up, all you hacking teaching pros, high-performing golf coaches, and swing geeks out there? If you are here, that means you are a continuous learner and are hungry for more of the great information that I'm putting out. So thank you for being here. Welcome to the Golf Guru Show. I am your host, Jason Sutton, aka The Guru, and thank you so much for subscribing. And make sure you download this episode and all of the other 53 episodes as well. I am very excited to have Mr. Michael Romatowski back on the show for a second time. So you know it is going to be a great show, as he is my first returning guest. A little background on Michael. If you don't already know, you are under a rock or falling asleep out there. Get with it. Michael is a multi-certified personal trainer, golf fitness expert, and post-rehab expert specialist. He's also level 2 TPI certified and Tathata golf certified. But more importantly, he is the inventor of what we know now is Mach 3 speed training. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you didn't hear the last episode with Michael, first off, what is going on? Get back there, listen to it. It is episode 44, I believe. So check that one out after you listen to this one. Michael is getting some incredible results with speed production with golfers of all ages and skill levels, but especially that 50 to 65 year old demo, which is simply amazing to me and something that I'll be joining very shortly. And I'm very excited to go through his training as well. His players are averaging gains of over 11.5 miles per hour with their driver speed, which is incredible. You can find Michael on Instagram at Michael Romatowski, as he's putting out some really cool videos, so you can kind of see what he's describing and what we talk about on today's show. Also, check out his website at michaelromatowski.com, where you can check out the Mach 3 program and book him very soon, as I am going to this summer for a speed and Mach 3 clinic. I will probably be doing some member clinics and also some clinics for the professionals, so keep on the lookout for that. On today's show, we do a review on the Mach 3 program and how he came up with it, and also do a deep dive into training LPGA, women's college players and high school players, and what Michael sees as the problem in their golf training and why they're getting injured all the time. So this is a very interesting conversation you don't want to miss. So without further ado, I give you Mr. Michael Romatowski. Enjoy. Michael, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm just fine. Thanks for having me. I'm flattered that you would have me on. Yeah,
this is my first official repeat guest. So
really,
you're in rare company. Yeah, this is the first time I've had somebody on twice.
Do I get like a prize or something?
We'll figure that out at the end. What you do get is to answer my most, I guess, popular question that we didn't get to last time because we had to cut it a little short.
Okay,
sure. You get to answer the billboard question that everybody wants to know. So if you had a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, of course, to get a message out to billions of people, what would it say and why?
Speed training is fun, because it's more fun than any other type of training, because it's not tremendously fatiguing or exhausting. It's just meant to ramp you up and not beat you down. And beyond that, it works, which is important, but it's just really fun. And so that's what it would say. Speed training is fun.
I like it. I wouldn't expect anything less. I think we need to get you a nickname, like the Speed King or something, right? So you're
you know, somebody said that to me several months ago, maybe even a year ago. And I said, please don't do that.
I love it. All right. So I know hopefully most of the listeners have heard the first podcast, so you don't have to go too deep into your career, but I would like to catch up the listeners that didn't listen to the podcast, and shame on you out there if you didn't listen to the first one, on how you came up with this program that's sort of taking the teaching world by storm. Just give us a little background on, one, what you're doing, and so we can kind of get into some of the cool stuff we're going to talk about today, and then two, like how you came up with it.
Well, Mach 3 is basically a program for clubhead speed as it relates to golf. And so we basically only measure driver clubhead speed. And what we found is that it's a two-layer approach, really. And the first layer is understanding a concept, which we call speed out in front. And then the second layer is actually training, doing the workouts. And each of those layers should be worth 2 to 8 miles an hour. So you're talking 4 to 16 miles an hour in the big picture. The way that we came up with it is, I've had a lot of people influence me over the years in various areas of fitness. Fitness is my background and golf is my passion, I would say. But what we did over time is basically eliminate everything that doesn't work. Because there's a lot of theories out there about how you would gain clubhead speed, but when you put them into practice, some of them don't actually work. And so over time, we stripped those away until we're only left with what works. And that's why we're so confident when people come in here that we're going to succeed, because we don't care about theories. We've had time to test all the theories. And I don't care if it was a theory of Albert Einstein. If it didn't work, we dropped it. And so we just are left with what works the best. And that's why we succeed.
What are some of those myths, I think, about speed training that you guys have obviously tested, or some of the things that you've found that don't work?
Well, I would say that the thought that you need an elaborate, multi-layered program that progresses through various foundations before you can even get to speed training. And what we found is that everybody's walking in the door with 2 to 8 miles an hour of speed that they just don't understand how to access. And so it's much simpler than you might think. It's not a complicated thing. It's not magic. It's not difficult to do. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be a great athlete. You don't have to be explosive. And I think we're doing it not by trying to change the golfer's body as much as teaching them what we call how to pilot your race car out of a curve, and then B, giving them workouts that are not exhausting and that are very easily recovered from, which then produce a much fitter golf body and a better foundation for more speed. But I think that's the main one. Is we've always been told, if you're not in your teens or maybe early 20s, and if you're not an explosive athlete, that you can't get faster. So there's been a lot of people that have been told, don't even bother trying, that it's not going to work. Focus on your putting, focus on your short game. And of course, those things are really important. But what we found is everybody is walking in the door with speed that they just basically don't know about because they don't know how to access it.
Yeah, because you're getting incredible results with, I think you talked about in the last podcast, the 50 to 65-year-olds, right? I mean, talk about that a little bit. I think that's groundbreaking in itself. Yeah,
well, that makes us really happy. I can tell you that, because that is, in the end, what we're trying to do is build a community of people who love golf and who are interested not only in playing, but want to understand how to take care of their bodies. And so the 50 to 65-year-old age group, has always been told, don't try for power, don't try for speed. You can't get it anyway. And they actually outperform our entire group slightly. Our track record across the board is 11.5 miles an hour of average clubhead speed increase, and the 50 to 65 group actually does a little bit better than that. They're like 12.5 miles an hour. And I have in my head right now some very specific instances of sitting down with guys in that age group and having them tell me, I don't think you can do it. And I say, well, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it, but I guarantee you're going to do it. Unless there's some strange thing that makes you different from everybody else. And really, that doesn't happen. As long as you're not injured, or as long as you're not coming off of a recent injury or surgery where you really are still in a rehab mode, you will get faster.
Yeah. Do you have, and that makes me think that's a great intro to, do you have any case studies that you can kind of go through, obviously without naming names? It was interesting. I had a guy after our first podcast. I had a guy reach out to me on Facebook, one of your students, and he was so excited that you were on the show, and he was sharing his story about how fast he's gotten, and he was a 65-year-old guy, and he actually came up to me at the PGA show and found me and introduced himself. So that's such a testament. Do you have any more of those case studies?
Yeah, well, the one that's in my head at the moment, let's see, so this was almost 2 years ago, so he would have been 65. Very good player, scratch +1, maybe +2 handicap. And, we sat down and he wanted information, and he said straight out, I don't think that we can get more than 1 or 2 miles an hour. So this is now a year and a half later. He's up 14 miles an hour.
Wow.
And if you talk to him, he'll tell you he's hitting it 30 to 50 yards further. Now, this is a very good golfer, always has been a good player. But if you can imagine that type of distance increase without trying to swing harder, that's the thing. So once you understand that when you do it correctly, it should actually feel effortless, and it should basically feel like you're barely trying. And to be able to hit it that much further, so let's call it 40 yards. So now you've turned your 3 hybrid into a 7 iron, or you've turned your 6 iron into a pitching wedge. And so he's 67 now, which he turned 67, I think, about 3 months ago. And he has shot his age several times just since then. So wow. That's one. Now, if you go up into the higher handicaps, we have a guy right now. I believe he's 50. No, he's 60. He just turned 60. And you would call him sort of the average American golfer, like guy who has a busy job, loves the game, can play on weekends. He's also gone up 14 miles an hour, and I'm going to say in the 18 handicap range. So that guy, but he's really what we look for, because sure. If you can imagine that the passion for the game, when you can improve that way, and see, really Mach 3 is actually it's a celebration of the game. That's what it is. We want to play as long as we can. We want to play as much as we can. We want to enjoy it more. We want to look forward to it. We want to feel better body-wise, so that we don't get into that path where you're hurting, you're not hitting the ball solidly, your scores are going up, and you make a decision, well, I don't need to be out there anymore, So we're kind of all people who love golf and love the spirit of it. And even though the equipment is so good now and all of the things that you can measure are so fascinating, really, the core of the game is just your ability to go out there and feel good and hit solid shots. If you can do that, I mean, this, if you can hit it solid, you can accept the occasional high score because you're confident that at least you're hitting it solid. And that really comes with I think having a body that feels good and you're not fighting pain and you're not fighting injury, and you've been able to increase the distance you can hit it and kind of shorten the golf course, all those things make you want to go back out there again. And that's really what we want. We want to celebrate golf, and we want to have a community of people that feel they love the game and they want to keep playing. And even if they're young, they're looking forward to a future filled with great golf experiences. That's in the biggest picture. That's what we're looking for.
We're saving a few guys from having to move up a tee box or two, right?
Yeah. Although, see, I encourage that.
Yeah.
I
say
it
actually
both.
has a lot more fun, right? Yeah. We have shorter
I
clubs.
say do both. Move up 20 yards and then hit it 20 yards further.
I like it.
And now you're talking.
Definitely. Yep. So take us back just a little bit, because I think, again, for people that hadn't heard your story, sort of who were your influences coming up and sort of your mentors, and then how, because I know it's an interesting story of how you got to where you are there, as far as the Mach 3 and how simple it is. That's the cool thing about it. And it was funny, I had the training session with my guys yesterday as we got the speed kit and we're starting to work with it. And one of my guys is like, well, why do we not tell them this? And I'm like, trust me, this is speed out in front. The intention is the whole thing. And it's hard for us coaches to hold back and not give them more information.
Sure. Yeah. So if we go way back, I come from a fitness background. There was a kind of an old school strength coach named Vern Gambetta. And he was the first guy that I really took notice of, who saw body movement and athleticism differently. He, instead of looking at individual muscles, just looked at the whole body and what the body is doing, not trying to break it down to what an individual muscle is doing. And he wasn't even, a golfer as far as I know. But just in the world of fitness, I took note of him and I said, wow, there's really something there that he understands. And then anybody in my field, which is basically fitness and what's called post-rehab, will recognize almost all of these names. So guys along the way, Paul Chek, Gray Cook, Gary Gray, these are people sort of maybe from the physical therapy world. Thomas Myers, same deal. They looked at the body and the way the body moves differently. So instead of isolating the function of muscles, they looked at movement patterns. So that was kind of the foundation of it all. And then there was a golf instructor in Hawaii named Kelvin Miyahira, who was really brilliant. And he was using tools made with chain. And on one of his trips through the U.S., I was lucky to have him visit me for about 4 days. And I had tools made from chain also, but I was using them kind of in sort of a boot camp fashion. It wasn't really golf related. But he was all about speed training. And so we spent 4 days together, and he said a lot of things to me at the time that I told him were not true. He would say something and I'd say, well, that's really not true because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
before
then,
you knew, right?
But then so now as I look back, I go, wow, he was right.
Yeah.
And the main thing that he had, he had tools, not so much a system, but tools. But what he said was speed training will take care of all your fitness components. And I said, well, no, because what about this? What about that? But actually it will. Speed training will cover almost everything that you need for your body to train for golf. And so once I understood that that was true, we could strip away a lot of other stuff that we were doing that really was what I'd call beating a dead horse. Okay. What we actually do is kind of the minimum that we need to do to be healthy and get faster. We're not saying how much can I do It's really how little can I do? And so by that nature, the workouts are not meant to make you tired. They're meant to really ramp you up. And so our gauge for that is when the workout's over, you should be able to walk out the door and go play. It's not something that you need this massive recovery time, before you can even work out again. So he was very important to me, Kelvin Miyahira, because of that. He was very passionate about that, and he was very correct about that, but I didn't really realize that until the last couple of years. And then beyond him, there's Greg Rose, who is the creator of TPI. He was very important to me in understanding how to look at a golfer's body, just physically and structurally and biomechanically, to understand that most golfers are really swinging the only way that they can swing. Your patterns are largely dictated by your body and the limitations of your body. So he was very important to me. And then recently, a gentleman named Joe Lacaze, who invented the Rotex motion devices that have become so important to us that we actually consider that to be half of our program now. So when we teach workshops, mostly now they are 2 days. The first day is Mach 3 speed training, and the second day is Rotex motion, which is a system of rotational exercise that we use to keep our golfers healthy. So that's kind of the string of influences that I've had, and actually one more very, very important guy. If you've ever heard of Tathata Golf,
yes,
the creator of that is Brian Hepler, and Tathata Golf has an amazing mental component as well as physical. Basically, it's golf body movement taken from the world of martial arts. But the mental component, they have a concept that's called energy out in front. And it's really fascinating because it keeps you from getting stuck in the moment and trying to, and always saying to yourself, there's something about my swing that I need to fix. So their mental energy is all out in front, always looking forward, looking ahead, looking for the possibilities of the next shot. And our concept is called speed out in front, which is largely a physical thing, but also it's where your focus is and how you're using your energy.
Yeah, the intention part is huge, right? I mean, and that's what was so interesting to me is from golf instructor side is when you start introducing another thought, or especially like you said, the ball slows you down, or a swing thought slows you down, then the learning stops, right? Or it's inhibited.
It does. We call it a leap of faith. You're making a leap of faith that if you simply change your intention of where you're directing all your energy, so that instead of directing it down toward the ball, you're directing it very much upward and way past the ball. When you do that, it streamlines your motion and it sheds the wasted motion so that you can speed up. It's all about how you're using your energy. And if you're dumping it down or thrusting it down or directing it down or driving it down, you cannot speed up. You can't really turn a corner with your path of energy, down toward the ball and then up into the follow through. So when we set up and every single move we make, we're directing energy upward and past the ball, and very much upward and very much past the ball, not just like a little bit up and a little bit ahead. It's way out in front and it's on an upward path. And when you do that, that's how you can speed up, because you're not wasting energy downward. Now, it's a hard thing to describe in words, but it's an easy thing to understand once you have a couple of our tools in your hand, and you can feel what it feels like to do that.
How often do you think, or how often have you found that the players need to go through the protocols to maintain the speed that they gain or to make gains? It's kind of like, almost like a fitness question, obviously. The more you work out, the better, stronger you get. But I know there's obviously there's probably too much at times. And I like the fact that you say, I want my guys to feel like they can go play afterwards. You're not trying to kill them in a workout.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question. And drawing back from my past when I would work with basketball teams, and we would have a whole segment of the training season for speed development and power. And what we found with them is the sweet spot was twice a week. When we would take them to 3 times a week, they would actually get slower. In golf, it's a little bit different. 3 times a week is the sweet spot. And so what the numbers tell us is at 3 times a week, these guys have averaged 14 miles an hour gain. At twice a week, it's been 9. And once a week, it's been 6.
Okay.
So it's kind of a linear relationship. Now, we've evolved to where we do Rotex training every day. And Rotex routines are very short. And so it's not taxing to your body at all. We do that every day. The speed training, basically, it's going to be 3 times a week if you're really serious about it.
Talk about the Rotex a little bit. That was one of the questions that I had for you that I think we didn't cover in the last podcast. Can you give just a brief, you said it was rotational movement, but can you go a little deeper into that?
Yeah. So Rotex has, if you buy all of the devices, basically there are 2 platforms that kind of look like bathroom scales almost in terms of size and shape, and they have a rotating disc built in, and you're actually standing on those discs. And then there's a handheld unit that's about the size of a very small steering wheel, say, and you actually hold that against a wall. And that also has a rotational resistance built into it. So this is on the premise, and the correct premise, that all joints move in rotation. They only rotate. So we tend to think of rotation as being, say, twisting side to side. But if you look at, let's take your shoulder and your hip joints, no matter where you move your leg, or no matter where you move your arm, that's rotation within the joint. It's just rotation on different planes of movement. And so when you're, so to speak, balancing your body, you're trying to release tight muscles and engage weak muscles. The very best way to do it is with rotational movement. And again, it's maybe not that easy of a thing to explain in words, but if the listeners want to go to rotexmotion.com and they were to click on watch our exercise program, there's a lot of videos there and you can see what I mean. So the beauty of Rotex is in gaining mobility where you need mobility, you could stretch passively, or you could repeatedly engage opposing muscles to where you're releasing the tight ones, you're engaging the weak ones, and you're building strength in the entire range that you can move. So there's no reason to move into a range of motion if you can't express strength in that range of motion. It's not going to be helpful. So what Rotex does is balance the body by simultaneously mobilizing what needs to be more mobile and strengthening what needs to be stronger and stabilizing what needs to be more stable. It's really fascinating. And it's one of those things when you look at the devices, and Joe Lacaze, the inventor, will tell you this is true. The first time I saw them, I said, there's no way that can work.
Yeah.
And he just smirked because he knew. It's the same thing I do now when people tell me, nobody can get 10 miles an hour faster.
Right.
So they're relatively simple devices, but they're so effective that I don't really even have words for it. And we do them every day. And we've actually talked Dr. Lacaze into spending a lot of time with us lately. He lives in Louisiana and we're in Texas, but we're always dragging him over here. And so we've benefited a lot from his approach, but also the fact, and this is true in my fields, the people that know the most about the body are actually always the hungriest to know more about the body. And so that describes him, and that describes us.
Yeah, definitely.
The people that think, the
it's
people
just
that
like our teachers, right?
Right. The people that think they know the most, they don't try to learn anymore.
Exactly.
The people that actually know the most are still trying to learn more, and that's why they know the most.
100%.
So he's like that, and so we're just so excited that we have a way to keep our bodies healthier and more mobile and stronger, and it's all fitting together so that we're not trying to be Gumby. You don't need to be Gumby to play good golf.
Right.
But you need to be able to have strength and control in the range that you can move. And if you can extend that range little by little and still be strong there, then it really starts to pay off, and it really does contribute to injury prevention rather than just, if you've ever noticed, like, take all the guys in the world who've decided, okay, I have tight hamstrings, I'm going to stretch them every day. And so even if they stick to it, they stretch them every day for the next 1,000 days. But would you ever step back and go, now wait, if this is actually working, why would I have to stretch them 1,000 days in a row? Like, why don't they just stop being tight, right?
Yeah, right.
So there are some mobility regimens out there that are fantastic, but I believe that just simple passive stretching is not one of them. And so the Rotex is much better because it's simultaneously strengthening as well as mobilizing.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen the mobility increase in these guys, right? I mean, I know you don't do, like you said, excessive screens at the beginning, and maybe you don't have certain tests, but you have to probably see it just in the functional movement of the player.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, the reason we don't do the extensive screens, so Joe Lacaze and I were talking about how many screens we've probably done in our lives, and I think between us we came up with 5,000 or 6,000.
Oh wow.
Well, but here's the thing. To whatever degree, everybody has the same issues, and we're going to fix them the same way in the end anyway. So an experienced person who evaluates posture and alignment and functional movement can assess you once you've taken 5 steps in the door. Okay, they've seen the same things over and over and over again, and they can see it right away. And so with us, if you're injured, that's one thing. We're going to spend some time and figure some things out in detail. But if you're not injured, and we're going to fix everything the same way anyway, our evaluation process is basically me asking you, are you injured? And then me asking you, are you lying to me about being injured?
Right, I like that.
And then beyond that, we're going to do Rotex anyway, because and TPI people and physical therapists will recognize these terms right away. Basically, you're going to be some combination of upper crossed and lower crossed. I mean, those are the terms in the world of physical evaluation. And we're going to fix them the same way. Not only that, we're going to fix them way faster with Rotex than we could any other way. So, yeah, evaluations for us are more if you're actually injured, and we're going to unravel the mystery a little bit in a little more detail.
Yeah.
But we're not worried about picking you apart now and looking in detail at every joint, and it's something that once you have a lot of experience, your eyes will tell you that very quickly.
Sure.
And let's get around. Let's show you right away how you're going to keep yourself healthier and be more mobile, and that's what Rotex does.
And I'm sure you quickly can tell when they're lying, because after they do a couple of the exercises, they start wincing in pain.
Well, so this is really interesting. You know, I would call our method of training submaximal, meaning, you know, we've never done a single box jump, for example, which is a very explosive plyometric movement. Our movements are actually very much in line with just what your body naturally wants to do, and the sets are very short. So everything is over with before you even have a chance to get tired. So during a workout, you know, you may be a little winded repeatedly as we go through, but you recover very quickly. And it actually is a way of working out. I mean, who would have thunk it, but that makes you feel better and not worse. And I don't know what it is in this country in particular where everybody equates pain and exhaustion to how good of a workout you had.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So I'm saying, why don't we work out in a way that makes us feel good? Why don't we work out in a way that gives us more energy, not less, makes us feel better, not worse? Now, I do understand that for some people, there's a psychological need to go to the very limit.
Yes.
And then recover. And so I'm not directly knocking that, but I am saying for what we do for healthy golf bodies and for more speed, you don't need to go anywhere near that limit. You don't even need to have it within 100 miles of your sight. Okay, so we work out like it's kind of like as a celebration again. It's something that should feel really good, and it's something that you should look forward to doing because it feels good, and you don't have to work out on a Wednesday and then say, okay, now I have to recover until Saturday. Mm-hmm. Well, what is that? Like, you're sacrificing in our mind 3 days where you could feel really good and work out again. So, you know, we probably have a little bit different approach to it than the norm.
How important is breathing during the workouts? I know we talk a lot about that, you know, when we're doing normal workouts, but I'm sure you teach something that allows them to increase that range of motion. Is that something that you incorporate?
Well, first rule of thumb is don't hold your breath.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're turning purple, that's a red flag to use two colors in one metaphor. Yeah, you know, we don't, your body basically, in the middle of a high speed exercise, I think your breathing will be instinctive. In the Rotex, we actually don't focus that much on breathing other than to not hold your breath.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What made me think about it was I know there's a part of yoga is, you know, increasing the range of motion is the breath, and I mean, it could be more of a spiritual thing, but I don't know. I was just curious about that.
Yeah. In Rotex, it's the way we do it. It's more an awareness of, you know, the movements in Rotex are usually slow and controlled, but not dependent on breathing as much as an awareness of your positioning and an awareness of your body. So it may be a little bit different from yoga in that respect, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So we've talked a lot about the guys and making them faster. Is it similar when working with young ladies or, like, say, LPGA Tour players, Symetra, college, or even high school players? Because I know if we can get the young ladies out there to hit it farther, I mean, talking about, you know, college recruiting flags going up all over the country, is there something different that you're doing, or talk a little bit about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of, well, first of all, let me say this. That group that you just mentioned, if I have a personal ambition, I want them because, I'm trying not to be too critical here, but I think that most of them are being trained wrong. And I think, when you look at these girls on the tour walking around with kinesio tape all over their bodies, and we know a whole handful of collegiate females here who have gone from high school to college and can't even play their freshman year because they're injured right away in the workouts.
Wow. Yeah,
so
that's a problem.
I have that group in my sights as as a group that I really love to work with. Now, performance-wise, any college coach I've ever spoken to about high school players, the first thing they ask is, can she hit it far enough? Absolutely the first thing they want to know. And there are a lot of female younger golfers who have beautiful, flowing, grooved swings, but really can't hit it far enough to be competitive once they reach a college level. So what we do can be pretty important there. But also, mainly, female golfers tend to injure their necks. The neck, the wrist, those are the two areas, and probably in third place, the low back. But those areas are very easily injured on female golfers. And in a golf swing, where you're going to get hurt is at impact. In the gym, pretty much anything can hurt you if you're putting too much load on a fragile area of the body. So when I watch this in the big picture, I say to myself, I want to lead these girls in a better direction where their workouts are not only geared for speed, but that they understand how to take care of themselves. Because you go up to the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, or the Symetra Tour, these girls are on the road, and collegiate females too are on the road a lot. So they're on the road a lot, tournament to tournament, they're playing, they're sometimes being subjected to workouts that you would give a football player, and you look at this and you go, wow, what's going on? Like, why are so many of these girls injured? And I just do think that we have a better way to train, that we have a more body-friendly way to train, that we can get them to hit it further without swinging harder. And so when I look at them as a whole, I admit it. I say to myself, I want you. I want to help you. The guys are slightly different, maybe. The body's usually a little bit more sturdy. They could handle more of a load. I'm not that thrilled in general about how the guys train either, for the most part, but they can maybe withstand it a little bit easier. But the girls, I think, need to be protected a little bit more and be trained a little bit smarter.
So you're not training them differently. You're just saying that your way is better than what a lot of the female in the programs are giving their players.
Well, if they come to us, the training is going to be much different, because what makes us unique is the tools that we use. And so it's pretty much a guarantee they will not have trained in that Mach 3 fashion before.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't train the girls different than the guys in your program.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
No. We don't even train an 8-year-old differently from a world-long drive competitor.
Okay. Yeah,
it's actually the same workouts. Yeah. The difference is how much intensity they can create in a very short period of time. But they're going to be within their own limits. We're not going to do anything that endangers them because they're going to undergo some kind of a load that they can't handle. They'll produce what energy they can produce. And so it's quite safe, especially with the Rotex, where you're treating your body like a race car and you're maintaining it every day and kind of fine tuning it, as opposed to you're treating it like a beat up old pickup truck and you're battering it every day, Right. I'll tell you, it's a little bit heartbreaking. I can think in my head of 4 girls in this area who went off to college, and this is their freshman year, and they haven't played in a single match yet because they're injured. Basically they got injured right away. Yeah. And either that or they're so sore from the workouts that they can't swing and they've lost the game. So we're looking at everybody as, you're a Maserati, you're a Porsche, right. Whatever, you're not a beat up old truck. And I just think if your goal is beyond any aspiration of what you're going to shoot, okay, what score, if your goal is just to be able to enjoy the game and get joy from the game, you've got to be healthy, and you've got to understand how to take care of yourself. And when that happens, it's just a whole new world, rather than trying to stagger through a golf season or a competitive season fighting your injuries all the time.
Yeah, that's no fun. That's no way to play golf.
Maybe none of us are going to be 100% injury free, but you can certainly minimize the pain and the number of injuries and the amount with which they really restrict you, no matter who you are, so that you can have more fun playing golf, because why should we play if it's not fun?
That's right. That's what it's all about. Well, you sold me on it for sure. And I'm a big fan already. And just for the listeners out there that I know predominantly are coaches, you can look for a seminar coming to Carmel here very, very soon. We're talking about collaborating, and I want to bring you in and maybe do something with the members, and definitely do something for the pros in my area, in my section that need this information. So thank you so much for once again taking the time out of your busy schedule and doing this. So tell the listeners out there how they can get a hold of you. I know you've got several platforms, and then how they can also work with you, maybe having a seminar at their club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so mainly Mach 3 is expressed through my website, which is www.michaelromatowski.com. And when you go on that site, there are various tabs. One of them will say Mach 3, and if you click on that, there will be a drop-down menu which has Mach 3 workshops. And so those are all of our workshops around the country. Some are for golfers, and many of them are for coaches. And we're definitely going to be all over the country this year. Right now we've booked ourselves through the end of June, and pretty much are here, there, and everywhere. So probably we're going to come somewhere near you. And we do want to come to your area too. I love the Charlotte area and North Carolina. So, we have our bags packed at a moment's notice to come there.
There you go.
But yes, so mainly my website. Again, it's michaelromatowski.com. Also, our email is mach3speedtraining@gmail.com. So you can get in touch with us that way. All of our training tools are on my website, and when somebody purchases those, we send them videos of the training drills. But if you can swing it, the very best way is to come to a workshop, because you pick up all the little details, all questions answered kind of thing. If you can make a workshop, that's definitely the way to do it.
Awesome. And then check out your Instagram as well, because that gives you a lot of insight into I love the videos on your Instagram.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to Instagram, but I'm understanding now. I didn't even know how to post on Instagram a couple of months ago. So
you're doing good.
Yeah, doing okay there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to put up interesting videos on that every day or so. So yeah, check that out.
Awesome. Is there anything that I haven't asked you, or any parting shots before we sign off?
No, I mean, I'd go back to where we started. Speed training is fun, and golf is supposed to be fun. And so everything we do is geared toward that. It's not a battlefield to us. We want to have as much fun as possible. And a big part of that is being fit and understanding how to take care of ourselves. So that's what we're really about.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it. What's up, everybody? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you jump off. How good was that interview? Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for subscribing and downloading. And thank you to Michael Romatowski for coming on the show once again and dropping some serious knowledge on speed production and speed training. Again, make sure you check him out on the gram at Michael Romatowski, and he has a Facebook group as well, so check him out there, and check out his website at michaelromatowski.com. You can also follow me and reach me on Twitter or the IG at Golf Guru TV on both of those sites, and check out my website at golfgurutv.net, where you can find videos, articles, and more information on my teaching and coaching. If you have a question for the show or a comment, send your questions in. We are going to do another Ask the Guru very, very soon with my staff, Robbie and Seth. So send your questions into golfgurushow@gmail.com. Let's get some good questions. Probably do a little Facebook Live, maybe a little IG Live. So it should be another fun afternoon. This show and all of the Golf Guru shows were produced by myself, Jason Sutton. Music is by Zach Mullet, aka Cutta Beats. And also leave me an iTunes review. Let me know how I'm doing. Give me a 5-star rating if possible. That would go a long way in keeping me producing this awesome content for you guys. And as I leave you with, RIP Mr. Jim Rohn, study, practice, teach, and then pass it on. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening.